that you have to do, if you can change it to it's something that feels good to do or feels good to have done, when you're looking back at it, it's going to be so much easier to do.
Welcome to Breakthrough Mode, the podcast where we intentionally get into the driver's seat of our lives, shift out of monotony and mediocrity, and step on the gas towards becoming the person we were always meant to become.
Hello and welcome to episode 219 on the Breakthrough Mode podcast. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for joining me today and pushing play on today's episode. Today, I want to chat about some practical things in goal achievement, in making this thing happen. So last Friday on episode 216, we chatted about belief and how this belief will impact your actions. It's the sneaky thing that's going to impact your action or your inaction. And I encourage you to go listen to that episode if you have not already, because this belief really is the thing that will keep you stuck or propel you forward. It truly, truly is. So, as far as practical things, when you're looking at your goals, I hope that you already took this part into consideration. I hope that the goals that you set for this year are for things, accomplishments, are outcomes, results that you actually want. You actually want that either you actually want to do the thing or you actually want the result from doing the thing. And the difference there being like, I want to publish the podcast, right? Like I really want to publish the podcast. And that's like, I want to do the thing. And, being at my ideal weight is a result that I want. I don't want to exercise every day. I certainly do not, but I want to be at my ideal weight. I want that result. So that's really the difference there of either like you want to do the thing or you just want the result of the thing. You don't necessarily want the path to it. But the path is just part of it. Okay. So I hope that you have things that you actually want to do or the result that you actually want to have or experience. Because if you don't want it, it's going to be more of an uphill battle. You can certainly bulldog your way through it. You can certainly make it happen. You can certainly grit your teeth and bear it and do it. But it's going to be a lot harder because you're going to be fighting yourself at every turn because it's not something you actually want. So you're going to be in this constant state of using your willpower to make it happen. Willpower is limited and it's going to be a lot harder. So figure out how to want it or let it go and pick something else, because that is such a key thing to making it sustainable, to making it enjoyable. And then once you actually make it happen, once you actually get there, to enjoying that accomplishment. Okay, so first, I hope you have things that you actually want. Second, when we are talking about goals that like we don't know how in the world we're going to make them happen, this is something that we want to achieve it, we want this result, we want this experience, we want that, we decided we want it, but we don't know how it's going to happen. Maybe we're on this doubt side of the spectrum more than the belief side of the spectrum. We can still help ourselves along in a practical way. So the first thing I would tell you to do is to write down all of the steps. All of the steps that you know of, that you know you need to do, that you know you need to check off. And getting this out on paper is going to help you immensely, because when it's in your head, it's so amorphous. It's so like, uh, I know I need to do that thing, but I also need to do this thing. And feel like jumping from thought to thought. And when you get it out on paper, you can look at it. And then you've got that satisfying opportunity to check off the box of like, yes, I did that. Hallelujah. Amen. We are making progress. We are moving forward. We are doing it. Remember, one year I had this goal of like going through the house section by section and decluttering it, just getting rid of stuff we didn't need and like stuff that we didn't use. Like we still had baby spoons in our in our utensil drawer. And like my youngest is, I mean, I don't know how maybe she was 4 or 5 at the time, but we certainly did not have a baby. And so it was like, we don't need these. We don't need them. Or we still had sippy cups or whatever, just like going through section by section. And I made myself this like grand master list, and it was so detailed that it wasn't just like the kitchen. It was like the top drawer in the island, the second drawer of the island, like it was very specific because I knew that if I wanted to tackle it day by day, which I did, I wanted to do it bit by bit every day. I knew there were going to be some days that I would have half an hour, and I knew there were going to be some days that I had 5 minutes. And I needed to be able to check something off in 5 minutes if that's all I had to give to it. And going through the utensil drawer takes less than 5 minutes. It's like, I don't need the baby spoons. I don't need, what is this straw? Like, whatever. Get rid of it. Move on. We did it. We made progress. We're going forward, right? So I'd make your list of the things that you know that you need to do, the things that you know you need to accomplish, as detailed or as broad as feels good to you. Because if having a list of 50 check boxes because you labeled every single minute thing, if that feels overwhelming, then don't do it that way. If it feels better to be like, this one task will take me about an hour, and that one task has about 5 steps in it, but I can just do it in an hour and it'll be fine, then just do the 1-hour task, right? Do what will feel good and manageable. Sometimes it's fun to have all the little minute details out, because then if you check off 10 in a day, you really feel like you have some momentum, that you're really making progress. It depends 100%. Really, I need you to hear me on this. It depends on how this list will make you feel. 100%, okay? Because if this list makes you feel like crap, if it makes you feel like you're overwhelmed, if it makes you feel like it's impossible because it's so long, or if it makes you feel all of those things because it's so broad and all of these things take so much time, then it's not actually helping you. You're going to want to avoid the list because the list feels like crap. But if the list feels good, if it feels doable, if checking things off feels like progress and feels like momentum, that's what you need. Because the progress and the momentum, really, momentum is just a feeling, and you can create that. And if you know that creating that means having 5 things on a list, but checking one thing off that maybe took you half a day, and now you've got 4 out of 5 left, if that feels like momentum to you, excellent, do it that way. If having a list of 50 things and then checking 10 off in a day feels like momentum, excellent, do it that way. The way I did my decluttering list, I did it because I knew my time constraints. I knew that some days I would have time for a bigger project, and some days I would only have time for a single drawer. So to feel like I was continually making progress, there were things on there that was like this one drawer. And then there were things that was like the game closet. And the game closet, no matter how hard I try, is a freaking perpetual disaster. And that takes like a couple of hours to set to rights again to my standards. And so I had different project lengths per checkbox, but the goal was to check something off every day. And so that felt good. I had this massive list, but I knew that I would be able to work through it day by day because there were tasks that were fit to different time constraints. So when you make this list of things that you know you need to do in pursuit of the accomplishment of your goals, it has to feel good. Hear me on that. It has to feel good. It has to feel good for you to look at, for you to engage with, for you to work on, for you to check off. Okay? Okay. No right or wrong way to do it, but if you're avoiding your list, you need to figure it out again. Okay. As you do your things, you will feel the momentum. You will feel you're making progress. You will feel like you're moving forward, and more things will come in to fill the gap, right? Like you will learn the next steps that you need to do and the next and it'll grow. That's just part of it until you finally reach your accomplishment of your goal. The next list that I want you to make is a list of questions. Like sometimes, so when I was going through and decluttering the house, one of the questions I had was what animal shelters will take used towels or blankets or whatever? Where are the animal shelters? What are their hours? Because I knew that some animal shelters would take towels and blankets. What are their restraints? What are their restrictions? What does this look like? So that would have been one of my questions. Like, how do I find out about this? Where can I take these? Whatever. That was just a Google search away and a phone call. I think I made a phone call to an animal shelter, was like, hey, do you do this? Do you take this? What are you looking for? And then it was just then that added another task to my list of actually going to the animal shelter and making that drop off, right? That added another task. But I knew that I was going to do that anyway. Anyways, so make a list of questions. What questions do you have in fulfilling your goal? And don't necessarily search for all the answers at once. This could be one of the steps in your task list in the things that you know you need to do. You need to research this. You need to ask some person this. You need to read this book. You need to do whatever. You need to take this course. You need to hire this person. Whatever it is you need to do, that can be in your task list. But you can have this list of questions that you intend to find the answers to at some point. And maybe that's Googling, maybe that's reading, maybe that's asking people, maybe it's just asking the universe, please send me resources so that I can figure this out. With these two lists, you get to work, right? Like you start moving forward on your tasks and you're answering questions or finding answers to your questions. And the more you find answers to your questions, the more your task list will grow. Hopefully, you're checking it off at the same time. And then the more questions you may have about the thing that you are starting to pursue. The best thing about getting these things out on paper is that they're not in your head bouncing around making noise. So I feel like whenever I've got all of these things that I need to do, or all of these things that I need to find answers to, or all of these things that I need to think about, it feels a little bit like a pinball machine where one thought just bounces around a million times and it feels like I've got a million thoughts, but it's just the one thought. Or maybe I've got 5 thoughts that are bouncing around at the same time, but it feels exponentially busier than it actually needs to be because I'm really only talking or thinking about 5 things. So once you get those things down on paper, then they're not bouncing around in your head anymore. You don't need to think about it because you've got it down on paper and you can look at it, you can refer to it, and it silences the chaos and the overwhelm and the noise in your head. So now with your lists, whenever every day or every week or however you make your plan for the day or however you schedule your tasks, whenever you do this, take a look at your lists and I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. One is what will feel good to do? Like what will feel good to actually do? Oh, I cannot wait. That feels so good. And what will feel good to have done? This might not be something you necessarily want to do, but it'll feel really good when it's done. So, when I did that this week and I was thinking about my goals and I was thinking about the things that I needed to accomplish within the week, and I asked myself, what would feel really good to do right now? And it was a Monday morning, and I was like, what feels supportive, what feels good, what moves me in the direction of accomplishing what it is I wanted to accomplish. And the thing that came to me was sit down, make some hot cocoa, and make a plan. Make a plan for your month on all of the things that you want to accomplish this month. Break it down. Just have this really beautiful time to make a plan. Get these thoughts out of my head. Write down steps, write down questions, write down the plan so that then we can execute it. And that's what I did. I spent a couple of hours with my calendar, with my goals, with my notebooks, with some note cards, and some highlighters, and I made a plan that felt good, and it felt so good to do that day. It just felt like I was setting myself up for success. It felt like I was quieting the noise. It felt like I was releasing the overwhelm. It felt good to do in the moment, and it moved me towards my goals, right? Because having a plan on how you're going to get it all done is helpful, right? I'm not flying by the seat of my pants all week. I know what I'm doing, and I know how all of that contributes. And then with the next question, what will feel good to have done? So I mentioned in episode 216 that one of my big, like, how in the hell am I even going to do that kind of goals this year is to move. And I was thinking about that goal, and there's a lot that needs to be done. And honestly, I don't want to do any of it. I want to move, but I don't want to do necessarily all of the things that lead up to it. There are parts that I do want to do, but we're not there yet. And so when I was thinking about that goal, I was asking myself, what will feel good to have done? Like at the end of today, when I'm laying in bed, I want to be able to be like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. And the thing that came to me was to go through the girls' stuffed animals. We have this toy box in the basement that is so full of stuffed animals, you can't even put the lid on it. And it's been bothering me every time I walk by it. I'm like, ugh, I hate that. And so I wanted to go through the stuffed animals and pull out the ones that I know aren't significant, pull out like random stuff and go through that box so that, I mean, then I'm going to run it by the girls and make sure that, I'm not throwing out anything that's a secret treasure. But the goal would be to really get rid of, a good portion of these stuffed animals. And going through that led me to like really decluttering, organizing, and cleaning a huge section of our basement. It was really like the snowball effect because I did that, which led to this, which led to this, which led to this, which led to me doing this project for like 3 or 4 hours, which was fine because I had the space for that day. But I didn't necessarily want to do any of it. However, now when I walk through that area of the basement, I feel so good about it. I know that it's organized. I know that it's clean. I know that the things that are there are things that we actually want to keep. I know that they are helpful. I know that they are wanted, and it's not like this, oh, do we even need this? Do we even want this? Is this something that I can just get rid of? All of it feels so good. So you'll notice here in this episode, although I'm talking about very practical things, having goals that you actually want to accomplish, making a list of tasks, making a list of questions, and then going, tackling those questions and those lists, your tasks with by asking yourself questions about what would feel good to currently do and what would feel good to have done. All of this is based on feeling, right? Which sometimes for some people, maybe that's counterintuitive. Maybe you're like, well, I don't care how I feel about it. But actually, you do. You care how you feel about it a lot because this is why we procrastinate. This is why we zone out. This is why we doom scroll. This is why we, just sit and veg out and avoid everything because we're avoiding whatever it is that we need to do because we don't like how it feels, right? We don't like how it feels. So we avoid it. If you like how it feels, you're going to do it because duh. So if you can create your goals that, first of all, you want, so you like how that feels, you like what, thinking about that accomplishment feels good. You have a task list that feels good to look at and to add to and to check off. You have questions that feel good to find the answers to, and you are focusing on the accomplishment of those tasks based on feeling, you're going to do it. Now, like I said, it's not all about feeling good in the moment necessarily. because I didn't want to spend 3 or 4 hours or whatever going through toys and cleaning and organizing. That isn't my favorite thing, right? Like, I much rather do something else. However, I loved how it felt at the end. I loved how it felt when it was all done. And I still love how it feels every time I walk through that section of the house and I look around and it looks so good and it feels so good. In the moment, didn't love it, wasn't a fan. But now I'm so glad that I did it and it feels good to have done, right? Right. So, whatever it is that you have to do, if you can change it to it's something that feels good to do or feels good to have done, when you're looking back at it, it's going to be so much easier to do. There are times when th- all of it just sucks and you just have to get through it and you just have to grin and bear it and buckle up and whatever it is you need to do, right? Like there are those times, sure. And what if we can minimize the amount of time that we spend in that energy? What if we can minimize the amount of time where we're just like gritting our teeth and barreling through because we just have to? What if we can come at it with more, like not so much resistance, not so much like ness? What if we could? Because I wonder sometimes how much we just like try to barrel through things. And it's possible. It takes a lot of willpower. It takes, you run risks of burnout. You run risks of not fully following through because willpower is so limited and you you use it up all the livelong day on all sorts of little tiny restraints and you can deplete it really fast if you're not careful. And when we run out of willpower, we tend to be more irritable. We tend to snap more. We tend to, you know, be less happy to be around. So use your willpower very sparingly. I mean, like use it, but don't rely on it is I guess what I'm saying. When you're pursuing your goals and when you're doing your tasks in pursuit of your goals to achieve this thing, to have this result, whatever it is you want to experience, if you can get yourself behind it and like, this will feel so good to have done, and then allow yourself to like enjoy the good feeling, that will create momentum. It will create sustainability. It will, it will enable you to continue because we continue to do the things that feel good. We just do. It's just part of how we're built. So work with it. That's what I'm saying. Work with it. You want to do the things that feel good anyway. So make make the things that you have to do or the tasks that whatever, make it feel good. And then you're more likely to do it. You're more likely to follow through on it. It's more likely to be sustainable. That's what I have for you today. I hope that was incredibly applicable, even though it was all based on feeling. And that's really not something that we're taught to do, but it's really powerful. So I invite you to play with that this week, or I invite you to play with that, especially as you pursue your goals. Just as a reminder, the two questions that I encourage you to ask at the start of your day or your week or your planning session or whatever it is what will feel good to do and what will feel good to have done. And be sure you give yourself the time, space, allowance, permission, whatever you need to do the things that will feel good to do, as well as the things that you have to do, must do, obligated to do, whatever it is. Include those things that will feel good to do every day. You will feel like you're taking care of yourself. You'll feel like you are tending to what you really need. You will feel like you are refueling yourself to do the things that maybe you just don't wanna. That's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I totally, totally love you. Bye for now.